Hello, this is Bill Meridian speaking to you again on behalf of Cycles Research and on behalf of Jean Vicotan, the creator of Astro App, the planet's top astrology website and research tool. And this is the second video looking at the finance tools in the Astro App. We looked at companies' data last time, and we're now going to do some searches for charts that have some of the aspect signs, configurations that we would like to work with. Before we do that, however, I'm going to go over here to Reports. And I'm going to click New Astro Scribe. Now, this opens up a little notepad. I'm going to give it a name, Test. This will save the screens that pop up. When we run a study, there will be a little button that says Append to Astro Scribe. So our research results will be appended to that notepad, so you will not have to take a screenshot or write it down by hand. So I would recommend you go to Reports, New Astro Scribe, whenever you're doing work. So let's now click Search and see what we have here. So again, as in the first video, we have the different indices. We can look at all stocks, or we can look at just the Dow Jones Industrials, the Transport Average, the Utilities Average. They only have 20 to 30 stocks in each of them. The NASDAQ 100 has 100, and the NASDAQ All is quite extensive. There are a lot of little companies in there, so I don't use that too much. Then we can do it by countries. I'm just reviewing. This is the same header from the last video. Sectors, markets, industry group, date. Date enables us to search for charts or horoscopes that became active on a specific date. I don't use it that much, but it's in here. And then first trade charts or other charts, not all of which are included yet. Now down here, we have our search criteria. We can search by planets in sign, number of planets in a given sign, planets in aspect, planets aspect at a point, planets in triplicity, planets in quadruplicity. So we have coming up a Jupiter going into Taurus. It's right now in Aries. It'll be in Taurus, which is my sun sign, pretty soon. So we're going to look for all first trade charts that have Jupiter in, not Aries, but Taurus. And instead of all, I'm going to look in NASDAQ all. And so now I am going to search. Now all these will undergo a Jupiter return. And here is Facebook, which changed its name to Meta. And you can see Jupiter in Taurus there. This is Helen of Troy Cosmetics, an old favorite of mine, a very high cash flow generator. It has Jupiter in Taurus. That is Intuitive Surgical and Marvell, PetSmart, TripAdvisor, Splunk. Now, what do we have down here? Let's look at the group analysis. Now, let me just clear that. Start from scratch. We have a number of different elements by which we can search. So I'm going to pick signs distribution. And I'm going to click on Analysis. And we've selected all of them. Here we have 24 planets or points. The midheaven, we have the midheaven node and ascendant also. 24 in Aries, 46 in Taurus. It's easier to see if we graph it. So not only is Jupiter in Taurus in this group, but there are many, many planets in Taurus. So I see again over to the left, I'm looking now, I see Groupon, GRPN, Helen of Troy, FLWS is FlowServe. So when Jupiter enters Taurus, these stocks might well outperform depending upon the rest of the chart. For example, if you have a chart with Jupiter in Taurus trine Uranus on the midheaven, and you have another chart with Jupiter, let's say, very afflicted, my experience is the one that has the very well-placed Jupiter will outperform the other one where the Jupiter is not well-placed. And then you have to remember, Jupiter hitting all these planets is not mutually exclusive. The charts could be afflicted in some other way. That's why we do multiple layers of screening. Now see this? I can append it to AstroScribe, which means it is now saved in that little notepad that I called test. So let's close this up. And let's click Done. And let's go back to group analysis for a minute. So we can have signs of distribution, decanates. We can slide this up by quadrants, stats by element. I'm going to click that one on. You can select as many of these as you like. I just did one to keep it simple. Planets and houses really is not all that valuable because they can only start trading in the morning. So we now click analysis one more time. And now we have three layers. We have signs, distribution, stats by element, planets and houses. We already looked at the first one. Let's look at this one. Most planets are in Earth in these charts, not surprising because there are so many in Taurus, and the fewest are in water. So if we wanted, we could append that to AstroScribe. Now let's look at this one, planets in the houses. The 11th is usually the most populated because most of these, all of these charts started trading at 9:30 a.m. or 10 a.m. So we are done with that. Now here we have stats for selected. This is looking at the entire group, and it is telling us where the planets are, or how many of the planets are direct or retrograde. Here's the north-south latitude. So most of these planets are in north latitude. And here again is the sign distribution, which we've already seen. And again, I could append that to AstroScribe, so I'll do that. And we'll close up. Now, details for selected. Let me pick Facebook. Details for selected shows that Facebook, which is now Meta, I know, has the sun at 58 degrees. Well, 58 degrees is 30 minus 50 is 28. It's 28 of the second sign of the zodiac. And here we have 32, which is in degree notation, as we know, is going to be 2 Taurus. And then 47 that's about 18 Taurus. It's conjunct my Mercury, and so on. Uranus at 7 is a 7 Aries 34. If we cared to look at one individual. So I'm going to close that up. Now, here you note, we could, if we wanted to, look at one condition, Jupiter in Taurus, and a second condition. It could be and, or, exclusive, or not. So if you wanted to find, let's say, all charts that have Jupiter in Taurus, but in which Mercury is not in a given sign, or some condition does not exist, you could screen that out. So let's just click this on, and I'm going to go back up here, and I am going to change this to midheaven in Taurus and planet and aspect And the planet I'm going to pick is midheaven. I want midheaven square Venus. So let's review this. We have the midheaven in Taurus, and we have the midheaven square Venus. And we hit search, and we came up with Tesla, amongst others. And I picked this for a specific reason. It is a very dynamic chart, so we can look at this. We can look at details. We see the sun is around, that's around 8 degrees of Cancer. The midheaven is about 18 Taurus, and we should find Venus 90 degrees away. Well, 90 plus 48 plus 90, 137. So that's correct. And we have numerous other stocks in here that have the same configuration. Now here we can select all, group analysis, stats for selected, details for selected. So let's just say select all, stats for selected. Let's see what else we can see here. Well, we can note that there's a large concentration of planets and points in Leo, and absolutely minimal concentration in Virgo. So let me just explain that years ago, remember down around 9/11 time, we had Saturn opposite Pluto, Gemini to Sagittarius, and it was the airline stocks took a dreadful beating. And one of the reasons I was negative on the airline stocks was because they show lots of planets in Gemini and Sagittarius, and that's where the Saturn-Pluto opposition was. So this is why you would want to know this sign distribution. Easy way to check this out. Just go back and look at the last time there were benefics or malefics in a sign that is very dominant in a given industry or group. Now I'm just going to close that for a minute. I'm going to turn this one off. I'm going to search one more time. And we are going to do the group analysis. Sign pairs. I like to use that one. And we're going to do analysis once more time. Now remember I said that transportation stocks have the dominant sign pairs Gemini, Sagittarius. Well, here for this group it's Cancer, Capricorn. So if you had a group of malefics in Cancer, Capricorn, it would exert some sort of pressure on all these stocks. Up over here we see that's Autodesk. Down here we see Amgen, Amphenol. That's Checkpoint Software. So if Cancer Capricorn is very prominent in these charts and you have malefics floating around in there or benefics, those charts are going to get hurt more than others. And again, I can append to Astroscribe if I wish. And we pick done. We're going to close this. Hit cancel. I'm going. Now I just wanted to point out to you that as I was preparing for this, I specifically picked Tesla. And I'd like to just deviate a little from just showing you how to use it to showing you how valuable the results are. First of all, you'll notice the midheaven is 18, Taurus 29. Then you'll notice it's square Venus over here at 17, Leo 36. And here we have Pluto at 4 cap. That is 135 to the midheaven. So in other words, if you put the pointer on the midheaven, you would equal Pluto. It would equal Venus. And it would equal Jupiter, because Jupiter is 45 to the midheaven. That is a very dynamic combination. Let's look at the rest of the chart. There's Uranus conjunct Jupiter, and Uranus is at 0 Aries, which is the world point, which means its energy or expression comes out into the world very easily. It's a very well-known stock, isn't it? Now, what's it known for? It's technology, Uranus. But let's look at something else. The heliocentric nodes of the planets are essentially fixed in space. They move about 1 degree every 72 years. I was born with my Mercury right at that degree, which is the heliocentric north nodes of Mercury and Mars. In other words, the helio nodes of Mercury and Mars are conjunct in space. You know, I could come back in my next lifetime and they'll probably still be there. Which explains why I tend to talk fast, move quickly. It's not an ordinary Mercury in Taurus, which is supposed to be slow and dull. And in fact, my friend, his son was born with this, and I said, when he's little, he'll be a real rugrat, which means he'll be crawling around so fast and he'll be monkeying with things, Mercury, Mars, getting into things, wanting to know how things work. He's also extremely talented at table tennis, ping pong. So I have many examples of this degree being activated. So when the Tesla midheaven is activated, it activates Jupiter, it activates Pluto, it activates Venus. You get some very big moves. Now the Sun and Mercury are very close to the heliocentric north node of Jupiter, which is at 10 Cancer. So this is a very dynamic, a very exceptional chart. So using the search functions, you could go through and you could say, are there any other charts that have the midheaven? Oh, you could say 45 to Jupiter, 135 to Pluto, 90 to Venus. Can I come up with any more Teslas? Or you could look at it another way. You could start with the midheaven in Taurus and start and say midheaven in Taurus and Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, or just look for Jupiter-Uranus conjunctions. So this is how the search works. And just to review very briefly, we pick the index we wish to search in right here. If you pick Dow Jones Industrial Average, that's only 30 stocks. If you pick sectors, sectors are pretty broad. So energy, you'll get all energy stocks, finance, all finance stocks. Industry is a finer breakdown. So you'll get fewer stocks. Country, you know, I've lived overseas now for 32 years, so I've taken time out to check with other stock exchanges to get first trade charts. And UAE, I lived there for 14 years. All those are listed on the ADX website. ADX is Abu Dhabi Exchange. I pulled them off of there. And of course the date search. So we can search for one condition here. Let's say planets and aspect. And I'll say Jupiter conjunct Uranus. And activate this. Planet and a sign. I'm going to go back to midheaven in Taurus. So Jupiter conjunct Uranus, midheaven in Taurus, and we'll do a search. Now, we should come up, and we do come up with Tesla, but Amgen, now Amgen I know has Jupiter conjunct Uranus. That was at 8 degrees Sagittarius in 1983 when the whole biotech industry started to explode. Let me just say that this is a phenomenon I've noticed over the years. There were lots and lots of biotech companies that started trading in 1983. They're not around anymore because Amgen took them all over. So Jupiter conjunct Uranus at 8 Sagittarius is a signature, or is very powerful and or relates to the entire biotech industry. But the reason you don't see many charts with that is because like Centocor, they're gone. And the names from the very early days, Genentech, they're all gone, or they've gone off the exchange and they come back on when Jupiter isn't conjunct Uranus. But take my word for it, Jupiter conjunct Uranus at 8 Sagittarius rules that grouping. And here we have Tesla. UNP is Union Pacific, which is a railroad. You'll notice it's 1969 date. IP is International Paper, which started trading in 1941. It's a very weak stock because the paper industry is very mature. And here we have Hess Oil. So that is it for the search. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I can show you. So I obviously did something wrong here because we didn't save those charts. So we'll come back in the next video and we will be looking at advanced search. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.